Welcome to the Stop Down Photography Podcast, episode 13. I'm your host, Scott Davenport, and today's topic is what Bruce Lee taught me about photography. Hi everyone, welcome. Thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. If this is the first episode you're tuning into, thanks for giving the podcast a shot. I hope you like what you hear. Today's episode is about a legendary figure, Bruce Lee, and how one of Bruce's philosophies really shapes my photography. Now, most know Bruce Lee as a martial artist. That's certainly how I first learned about Bruce Lee. I practiced martial arts in my formative years, and when one does, you almost immediately learn of Bruce Lee. He was a phenomenal martial artist, great athlete, fluid, graceful, strong, groundbreaking, really. And even as a teenager, when I was intrigued or inspired by someone, I wanted to learn more about them. I learned Bruce Lee was also a student of philosophy. He had a very philosophical outlook on life, coupled with a drive to execute on ideas. Bruce thought a lot, he wrote a lot. Having the idea wasn't enough, action was required. Bruce Lee is a fascinating man, whether or not you're into the martial arts. And many of his writings and philosophies apply to everyday life. You may be familiar with Bruce's "Be water, my friend" quote. He describes water as shapeless, formless, how water transforms itself seamlessly into its surroundings. It also can be very strong, it can crash, it can have force. It's a reminder that we don't have to always be so rigid. We can stop forcing the world around us to change and instead adjust ourselves, and we can be strong when we need to. Great wisdom. It fits a lot of situations. And I guess that to a degree does factor into my photography, being open to new ideas or changing an approach to a scene when the conditions change. But that's not the most influential of Bruce's philosophies for me and for my photography. It's this: adapt what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. Why this is so profound to me is because of how personal it is. It's about being true to yourself, about finding your own path. It's about adding your own unique spin and influence to things. As an artist, it's about finding your voice, building a signature style. Each of us learn from many sources, many teachers, many photographers, and also each and every one of us is unique. We have our own vision. As an artist, I am free to cherry pick photo subjects, camera techniques, editing styles. I can selectively curate the things that speak to me. I have the power to dismiss the things that don't resonate with me. And I can add my own vision to my photography. It's an incredibly empowering realization. Adapt the useful, reject the useless, add my own style. And Bruce Lee taught me that. When I host my photo workshops, during the introduction, I share this Bruce Lee quote. And in a workshop setting, I couch it as such. Everybody learns differently. When I teach what I see, what I do, how I approach photography, how I approach editing. It's one way of doing things. It's a way, not the way. So some of the stuff that I teach will resonate with a student. Other things may not, and that is 100% okay. You take what makes sense to you, you incorporate it into your photography in whole or in part. Adapt what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. Thinking about my own photographic journey and how I've used Bruce's philosophy to form and shape my own photography. When I think about shooting styles, early on when I first picked up a camera, you hear a lot of things from photographers or from, air quotes, authorities on photography. You have to shoot in manual mode, or you have to use back button focus, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. And as my photography took shape, I found out I wasn't doing those things. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it poorly, or I'm not a real photographer. For example, aperture priority. That is my go-to for 90% of my photos. And I learned that Joe McNally, fantastic photographer, I mean, no doubt about it, Joe McNally is one of the greats. He shoots an aperture priority a lot. And when I read that, I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's all right that I'm doing it this way. And it continues to be my go-to mode. Back button focus, you hear about this one all the time. And I tried it, and that one completely falls in the useless category for me. It just doesn't work for me. I just don't like it. And I mean, maybe I'm becoming a landscape photographer, right? Because I'm not having to have as many dynamic situations, but I do have like my own version of it. Now maybe it's not so useless. I've adapted it. I'll set my focus point. I'll get everything set up, and then I just turn off the autofocus system. I'm usually using remote triggers and things like that anyway. So it's back button focus just doesn't work for me. That was one thing I just cast aside. Thinking about cameras and gear, I view these things as tools. I'm not married to a particular brand. Certainly, I have my likes and my affinities. If another brand comes along or another product that does the same job but does it better, well, I'm going to take a serious look at that. Now, currently, I'll use cameras as an example. I'm on Sony right now, and I have A7R2s. These are like 4+ year old cameras, and they do what I need them to do. When the Mark III came out and the Mark IV came out, I didn't move forward. And why? Well, those particular cameras fell into the useless category. This was not something I could use. I rejected it. They didn't bring something to the table that I needed for my photography. So in a sense, I guess Bruce Lee helps me fight off gas gear acquisition syndrome. Well, so does Craig Ferguson. If you haven't listened to episode 9, you haven't listened to that. But just using that simple philosophy, this is a tool. Is it going to help me? Is it going to advance my craft? And if it is, great. Go take a look at it. And if it's not, that's okay too. You've got something else that's going to do what you needed to do. Now, one more example on the processing tool side of things. So I've never been a very strong Photoshop user. Part of that is when I first started doing more serious post-processing, Photoshop was still a very expensive software application, and I didn't have the money to go buy it. But you go on YouTube, and there are tons of Photoshop tutorials, and really, really good ones that give an incredible look to a photo. Now, I'd watch these. I'm not using Photoshop, but I watch the Photoshop tutorials because I can adapt those techniques to the tools that I use. It works. It's great. So just because someone is using a software tool that I don't use, it doesn't mean I'll dismiss what they're teaching. I can listen, I can learn, and I can adapt it to my own style. Now to the last part of Bruce's philosophy, add what is specifically your own. That's a trickier one for me. That's harder to pin down. One thought is my processing technique. Now, I generally add a sequence of small adjustments that result in a big change to the photo, hopefully a big improvement. I'm not usually doing a one and done with presets or things like that for the photos that I really want to spend time with, those 5-star photos that you want to craft to your particular liking. So that might be something that's my specific technique or something I've added to my photography on my own. I'm less certain about a signature shooting style or something like that, but I guess that means there's more room to grow. A follow-up from last week, I asked you what your photography albatross is, that thing about the photographic process that you find most burdensome, the thing that, all things being equal, if you could make it go away and still enjoy photography, you would. Thanks very much to those of you that sent in your thoughts. I still want to hear from more of you. So if you've got the albatross hanging around your neck on photography, whatever it might be, it could be dealing with gear, it could be the weight of gear, it could be having to hike 1.5 miles to get to the really good spot, it could be editing, it could be anything. Send those thoughts in to me. You can leave a comment or send a message through stopdownpodcast.com. Hope to hear from you. A big thank you to supporters on Patreon. It is your support that makes this podcast possible and helps thousands of other photographers enjoy our craft. If you're interested in learning more about the Patreon community, check the show notes. There's also a button on all the pages of stopdownpodcast.com where you can learn more about it. And that will wrap up this week's episode. I'm working on another topic for next week. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please tell a friend. And if your podcatcher app has a rating function, please rate the podcast. Let me know what you think. You can always find all the episodes at stopdownpodcast.com, in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. It's everywhere. Wherever you get your podcasts, you'll find the Stop Down Photography Podcast. And until next time, my name is Scott Davenport. Have fun.